The room was dimly lit, filled with the soft blue glow of holographic screens. Jay Park sat slouched in his gaming chair, fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces. Empty energy drink cans littered the floor around him, a testament to countless hours of strategic gameplay. A sudden sharp knock interrupted his concentration. Most people would have been surprised, but Jay simply paused his game and called out, "Come in." The door slid open with a mechanical hiss. Two figures entered, one humanoid with shimmering silver skin, the other a tall, slender being with translucent, tentacle-like appendages. They looked completely out of place in Jay's messy apartment. "Are you Jay Park?" the silver-skinned being asked. Jay didn't immediately respond. He took a swig from a half-empty energy drink and continued to stare at his game interface. "Depends on who's asking." The alien representatives exchanged a quick glance. The silver-skinned diplomat stepped forward. "We are from the Galactic Confederation. We require your assistance." "Not interested," Jay mumbled, returning to his game. The alien's voice shifted, becoming more urgent. "Our civilization is on the brink of total destruction. The Zorn Empire has decimated our fleets. We've heard about your strategic capabilities." Jay paused, his fingers hovering over the holographic controls. "My strategic capabilities? I'm just playing games." "Exactly," the tentacled alien interjected. "Our surveillance has shown that your game performance demonstrates extraordinary tactical understanding." For the first time, Jay turned to face them fully. His eyes, tired from hours of gaming, now held a sharp, calculating look. "You want me to save your civilization based on my video game skills?" The silver-skinned diplomat nodded. "Our top military strategists have failed. Our most advanced AI systems cannot predict or counter the Zorn Empire's tactics. But your game recordings show something different." Jay leaned back, a hint of a smile crossing his face. "Different how?" "Unpredictability," the tentacled alien explained. "Your strategies defy traditional military logic. You adapt, you improvise, you think in ways our structured military minds cannot comprehend." The room fell silent. Jay returned his gaze to the holographic game interface where a complex galactic battle simulation continued to run. His fingers moved almost unconsciously, manipulating fleet movements with an almost casual precision. "What makes you think I care?" he asked, not looking up. The silver-skinned diplomat pulled out a small device. Holographic images burst to life. Entire star systems burning, massive warships exploding, countless alien civilizations in desperate retreat. "Because if we fall, Earth will be next," the diplomat said quietly. Jay's fingers stopped moving. For a moment, the only sound was the soft hum of holographic displays. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Weeks, maybe less." Jay stood up, stretching. His apartment was small, cluttered with gaming equipment, military strategy books, and random tech gadgets. He walked to a wall covered in complex diagrams and game strategy notes. "I'll need complete access to your military databases," he said, "and a lot of coffee." The aliens looked at each other, a mix of hope and uncertainty crossing their alien features. "You'll help us?" the tentacled alien asked. Jay picked up an energy drink, cracked it open. "Let's just say I'm curious, and I don't like losing, in games or in real life." As the aliens began explaining the dire situation, Jay's mind was already racing. His eyes flickered between the holographic war simulations and the alien diplomats, processing information at lightning speed. The fate of multiple civilizations now rested in the hands of a seemingly unmotivated gamer who had just been recruited to save the galaxy, and he was absolutely going to enjoy every moment of it. The Confederation's primary war room buzzed with nervous energy. Massive holographic displays showed countless star system maps, each marked with devastating losses against the Zorn Empire. Military leaders from various alien races watched as Jay Park casually walked in, wearing comfortable gaming clothes and carrying a thermos of coffee. "This is our strategic expert," whispered a reptilian commander to another. The silver-skinned diplomat nudged Jay forward. He seemed more interested in the room's holographic technology than the serious military atmosphere. "Show us," demanded Admiral Krell, a massive creature with 4 muscular arms. Jay simply nodded and approached the central holographic display. His fingers moved quickly, almost like he was playing a video game. Complex battle simulations began, populating the screen showing potential strategic movements. "Your current approach is too linear," Jay explained, pointing at the existing battle plans. "You're thinking like machines, not living beings." The alien commanders looked confused. Their military strategies had been developed over thousands of years, refined by multiple generations of tactical experts. How could this human suggest they were wrong? Jay selected a seemingly random star system, one that had been considered strategically insignificant. He began moving virtual fleet units in patterns that looked chaotic and illogical. "What nonsense is this?" Admiral Krell growled. But something was happening on the holographic display. The fleet movements, which initially seemed random, started revealing a complex pattern. It was like watching a painter create an image, confusing at first but gradually revealing a precise strategy. Within minutes, Jay's proposed approach showed how to reclaim 3 star systems that had been lost months ago. The alien commanders watched in stunned silence. "This is impossible," muttered a blue-skinned strategist. Jay just smiled and took a sip of his coffee. "In my games, predictability kills. Surprise is the greatest weapon." The silver-skinned diplomat stepped forward. "Can you explain your strategy?" Jay pointed at the holographic display. "You've been treating war like a chess game. Precise moves, expected counters. But real conflict is messy. Your enemy expects you to be logical, so be illogical." He demonstrated how his strategy used unexpected movement patterns, created deliberate confusion, and exploited the Zorn Empire's rigid military structure. Each movement looked random, but was mathematically calculated. The room remained silent. Military leaders who had spent centuries developing tactical approaches were watching a human who looked like he had just rolled out of bed completely redesign their understanding of warfare. "We will need to run simulations," Admiral Krell said. "Finally." Jay shrugged. "Run them. But I'm pretty sure this will work." Over the next few hours, computer systems ran thousands of battle simulations using Jay's strategy. Each simulation showed increasingly positive results. The seemingly random movements consistently outmaneuvered the Zorn Empire's advanced technological systems. The most surprising element was how Jay's strategy used minimal resources. Where traditional approaches required massive fleet deployments, his methods used smaller, more adaptable units that could quickly change directions. "This goes against everything in our military manuals," a senior strategist complained. "Good," Jay responded. "If it's in the manual, the enemy already knows about it." By the end of the demonstration, 3 star systems that had been considered permanently lost were now shown as potentially reclaimable. The alien military leaders looked both impressed and slightly terrified. They had expected a strategic expert. Instead, they got a game-playing human who saw warfare as a complex, dynamic system rather than a set of rigid rules. As Jay walked out of the war room, the silver-skinned diplomat caught up with him. "Impressive presentation," she said. Jay just smiled and took another sip of his coffee. "Wait until you see what comes next." The first step in saving the galaxy had just been completed, and it looked nothing like anyone had expected. The training facility looked like something between a military base and a high-tech gaming center. Holographic screens covered every wall, displaying complex simulations and psychological profiles of the Zorn Empire's military structure. Jay stood in the center of the room, surrounded by alien trainees from various species. Some looked confused. Others looked skeptical. A large reptilian commander named Crix watched with a permanent scowl. "Psychological warfare isn't about weapons," Jay explained. "It's about understanding how your enemy thinks." He pulled up a holographic display showing the Zorn Empire's hierarchical military structure. The system was rigid, with clear chains of command and predictable decision-making patterns. "Your enemy believes in perfect order," Jay continued. "So, we'll give them chaos. The training began with what seemed like strange exercises. Instead of traditional military drills, Jay had the alien soldiers playing complex strategy games, solving unexpected puzzles, and practicing rapid decision-making under pressure. Crix interrupted. "This is not military training. This is children's play." Jay smiled. "Exactly. The Zorn Empire expects disciplined, predictable responses. We'll teach our forces to be unpredictable." He demonstrated a series of unconventional communication techniques. Trainees learned to send deliberately misleading signals, create false communication patterns, and develop quick adaptive strategies that would confuse the enemy's sophisticated tracking systems. One exercise involved a simulation where trainees had to make decisions using incomplete information. Traditional military training would demand waiting for complete data. Jay's method encouraged making quick, creative choices based on minimal information. "Information is a weapon," Jay explained, "but confusion is an even more powerful weapon." The silver-skinned diplomat watched from the observation room. She was fascinated by how Jay was completely rewriting their understanding of military strategy. During one simulation, a young alien trainee named Zara made a completely unexpected move that would have been considered insane in traditional military doctrine. Instead of being punished, Jay celebrated her creativity. "That's exactly what we want," he said. "Unexpected thinking." The training program expanded. They studied human psychology, game theory, and complex adaptive systems. Trainees learned to think like individuals, not just as part of a massive uniform military machine. Crix remained skeptical. "These methods are too risky, too unpredictable." Jay responded by running a full battle simulation using his psychological warfare techniques. The results were shocking. Using fewer resources and more creative strategies, the simulated forces consistently defeated more technologically advanced opponents. "War isn't won by technology," Jay explained. "It's won by understanding human, or alien, psychology." They developed training modules that broke down traditional military thinking. Trainees learned to recognize their own psychological patterns, understand their emotional responses, and use those insights as strategic advantages. One particularly interesting module focused on stress management. Trainees practiced making decisions under extreme psychological pressure, learning to remain calm and creative when traditional systems would break down. The silver-skinned diplomat approached Jay during a break. "Your methods are unconventional." Jay grinned. Conventional got them nearly destroyed. Time to try something different. By the end of the training cycle, the alien military forces looked nothing like their previous selves. They moved differently, thought differently, and most importantly, they could adapt in ways the Zorn Empire could never predict. Crix, who had been the most skeptical, now looked at the training results with a grudging respect. The psychological warfare innovation was working. As the first group of newly trained soldiers prepared for their first mission, Jay watched with a calm confidence. They weren't just soldiers anymore. They were adaptive, creative problem solvers. The Zorn Empire would never see them coming. "Ready for war?" Jay asked Zara, one of the most promising trainees. She smiled, her alien features showing a newfound confidence. Ready to break all the rules, and that was exactly the point. The Confederation's Central Command looked different now. Where once rigid holographic displays showed traditional military formations, now dynamic, fluid systems pulsed with adaptive strategies. Jay's transformation was complete, and the entire military structure had changed. Admiral Krell stood at the main console, his forearms moving across holographic interfaces with a new kind of flexibility. Gone were the precise mechanical movements. Now his actions were more intuitive, more responsive. "Incoming Zorn Scout Fleet," a young alien communications officer announced. In the past, this would have triggered a standard defensive protocol. Now something entirely different happened. Jay watched from the side, sipping his ever-present coffee. The response was not a single coordinated movement, but a series of seemingly random actions. Small scout units moved in unpredictable patterns, creating confusion in the Zorn tracking systems. "What are they doing?" A nervous junior officer asked. Exactly what they're not supposed to do, Jay responded with a smile. The Zorn scout fleet approached, expecting the usual rigid defensive line. Instead, they encountered a swarm of smaller units that moved like a living organism. Some units appeared to retreat, others seemed to advance randomly. No clear pattern emerged. Within minutes, the Zorn scouts were completely disoriented. Their advanced tracking systems couldn't make sense of the chaotic movement. Target acquired, the communications officer said, but there was no traditional lock-on procedure. Instead, multiple small units converged from unexpected angles. The result was devastating. The Zorn scout fleet, considered nearly invincible, was completely neutralized without a single large weapon being fired. Kira, the silver-skinned diplomat, approached Jay. How is this possible? Jay pointed at the holographic display. We stopped, thinking like a machine, and started thinking like living beings. Unpredictability is our greatest weapon. The tactical transformation wasn't just about military strategy. It had become a complete cultural shift. Training programs now emphasized individual creativity, quick thinking, and adaptive responses. Young alien soldiers trained in simulation, rooms that constantly changed. One moment they might be dealing with a space battle, the next a ground conflict, then a diplomatic crisis. They learned to switch contexts rapidly, to think on their feet. We're not creating soldiers, Jay explained, during a training session. We're creating problem solvers. The Confederation's leadership was initially skeptical. Centuries of military tradition didn't change overnight, but the results were impossible to ignore. Each mission using the new tactical approach yielded better results with fewer resources. Small teams replaced massive fleets. Individual initiative replaced strict hierarchical commands. Creativity became more valuable than blind obedience. During one critical mission, a small team of 3 soldiers faced what seemed like an impossible situation. In the past, they would have waited for orders or been quickly overwhelmed. Now, they worked as a fluid unit, each making quick decisions, supporting each other without formal communication. They not only survived, but completed their mission with unexpected efficiency. This goes against everything we know about military strategy, complained an older military advisor. Jay simply smiled. Exactly. The Zorn Empire knows everything about traditional strategy, so we'll do something they don't expect. The transformation wasn't just tactical, it was psychological. Soldiers were taught to embrace uncertainty, to see chaos as an opportunity rather than a threat. They learned to read situations quickly, to adapt instantly. Communication systems changed. Instead of rigid, formal communication protocols, they developed more fluid, adaptive methods. A single gesture could mean multiple things depending on context. Krail demonstrated this during a strategy meeting. His forearms moved in a complex dance that communicated more information than hours of traditional briefings. We are becoming something new, the Admiral said. As the Zorn Empire continued to receive reports of these strange, unpredictable encounters, their own military leadership became increasingly frustrated. Their advanced technology, their perfect strategies seemed useless against an enemy that refused to play by any known rules. Jay watched the holographic displays, seeing the larger picture emerging. This wasn't just a military transformation. It was a complete reimagining of how intelligent beings could approach conflict. We're not just fighting a war, he told Kira. We're changing the entire concept of warfare. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the Zorn Empire was about to learn a very important lesson. Massive Zorn warships filled the space around, a contested star system. Their technology was generations ahead of the Confederation's previous capabilities. Sleek, perfect geometric shapes suggested absolute technological superiority. Jay sat in a small command center, multiple holographic displays surrounding him. His coffee had long gone cold. Admiral Krell stood beside him, forearms moving across tactical interfaces with surprising grace. They're expecting us to attack the Central Fleet, Jay muttered. So we won't, Krell responded. The Confederation's fleet appeared scattered, almost disorganized. Small units moved in patterns that seemed random. Zorn tracking systems struggled. to make sense of the movement. "Communication pattern Delta," Jay said quietly. Suddenly, some Confederation units appeared to retreat. Others seemed to drift aimlessly. The Zorn commanders watched, confused by the seemingly incompetent display. But nothing was as it seemed. Small units began creating complex interference patterns. They weren't fighting traditionally. Instead, they were disrupting communication, creating false signals, manipulating the Zorn's advanced tracking systems. The Zorn fleet's perfect geometric formation started to break. Their rigid command structure, which had been their greatest strength, now became their greatest weakness. "Target identified," a young alien communications officer called out. But there was no traditional targeting. Instead, multiple small units converged from unexpected angles. They weren't attacking the main fleet. They were attacking the communication infrastructure, the coordination systems that kept the Zorn military functioning. Jay watched the holographic display, his fingers moving, almost like he was playing a complex video game. Each movement was calculated, each unit working as part of a larger living system. The Zorn commanders became increasingly frustrated. Their advanced AI systems couldn't predict the Confederation's movements. Every time they thought they understood the pattern, everything changed. "This is impossible," a Zorn commander screamed into his communication system. But it was happening. Small Confederation units began using the Zorn's own technology against them. They hijacked communication frequencies, sent false signals, created digital chaos that paralyzed the massive warships. One by one, Zorn ships went dark. Not destroyed, but completely disabled. Their perfect technological systems became useless against an enemy that refused to follow any known rules of engagement. Kira, the silver-skinned diplomat, watched in amazement. "We're winning," she whispered. Jay didn't celebrate. He continued to move units, create interference, disrupt systems. This wasn't just a battle. It was a complete reimagining of warfare. The final blow wasn't a massive weapon. It was a series of small, seemingly insignificant actions that completely dismantled the Zorn's military infrastructure. Hours later, when the dust settled, the Zorn military leadership surrendered. Not because they were destroyed, but because they were completely unable to understand what had just happened. "How?" a Zorn commander asked Jay during the surrender negotiations. Jay just smiled and took a sip of fresh coffee. "We stopped thinking like machines and started thinking like living beings. The star system around them was mostly intact. No massive destruction, no total annihilation. Just a complete strategic defeat that left the Zorn completely bewildered." "Admiral," Krell looked at Jay. "What now?" "Now," Jay responded, "we help them rebuild. Because winning isn't about destroying your enemy. It's about solving the problem that created the conflict in the first place." As negotiations began, the Confederation's military looked nothing like it had months ago. They were adaptive, creative, understanding that true strength came from flexibility, not rigid perfection. The galaxy had changed. And it all started with a human who understood that the best weapon is an unexpected mind.